Meanwhile, the news overseas, since Acting Defense Secretary Pat Shanahan took the reins at the Pentagon, he said his top concern is China, China, China. And in his first major appearance in Asia as the U.S. military's civilian chief, he did not shy away from criticizing what the U.S. sees as Beijing's bad behavior. VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb has more from Singapore.
Acting Defense Secretary Pat Shanahan was all smiles ahead of a meeting with his Chinese counterpart that focused on building relations. But speaking to an audience at the annual Shangri-La Defense Forum, Shanahan said the U.S. would not ignore Chinese behavior, which he says has threatened prosperity in the region.
It's not about conflict. It's not about building walls. This is about security.
China is infamous for its theft of other nations' military and civilian technology.
I don't like when intellectual property is stolen. We have real issues with intellectual property theft, cyber attacks. There's a host of issues that we have to address.
Experts say China has used this theft to narrow the gap between some critical American and Chinese military abilities.
The kind of advantage that we had against China in the Western Pacific during the Cold War is gone for good.
And China has continued to project more military power beyond its borders, most notably by constructing artificial islands in the South China Sea and placing heavy weapons on them to support territorial claims not recognized under international law.
They argue that it's defensive. It looks like it's a bit overkill.
Recently, the U.S. has pushed for more international patrols in the South China Sea, including one last month with Japan, India, and the Philippines.
I think we need to do more of that because I think we need to characterize this conflict for what it is. It's not a conflict between China and the U.S., it's a conflict between China and the world.